Anin, Zimagnish Indigenous Cause, and I am here with my friend Harriet, and we're going to talk about um, challenges with parenting and recovery.
Absolutely.
And Harriet's an expert because she has kids, and I don't.
um, Anine, I'm Harriet, and my topic today is parenting and recovery because that's one of the challenges I've had to face in my recovery. I've been in recovery since April 11th, 2019, so that's about 6 years. And I have a 10-year-old son and a almost 5-year-old daughter. Um, so getting into recovery, I ended up being a newcomer, and I was about 9 months clean when I got pregnant with Holly. And it was COVID times, so it was already starting to get a little tricky. So it was parenting during COVID and parenting during early recovery. Um, and had to learn some tough lessons and stuff during my recovery. Um, let's see. So when I first got into recovery, I went to 7 meetings and uh, 7 meetings a week. Every day I went to a meeting. Um, and that was fine when I just had my son. And then when I had a newborn, it got a little more challenging, especially when that newborn turned to be a toddler. And also with school bedtime routines. So meetings ended up a lot of times being during bedtime. Um, and I wanted to have a good bedtime routine because I felt that was important for my son that was in kindergarten and first grade. And we found what worked for us was an early bedtime. And that's what worked best for our schedules, especially with me working. And when I first had Holly, I also had 2 jobs at that time and found that it was very hard to get evening time childcare or babysitters. And even for meetings, it was kind of hard to get babysitters. People had good intentions and they would offer to help babysit. And it's just in that moment, it's nice when somebody offers, but if it's not like a regular schedule, like every Tuesday, Holly can come over, or you can come over here type thing. If that doesn't work, you know, then yeah, it's nice to be able to go to a meeting once in a while, but it's not a scheduled thing. So it was a conflicting thing for me in my schedule and my recovery and my balance of my home life and everything else. So after I got some good foundation and a good recovery community in my life, I found that going to meetings regularly became very difficult. So I started to cut back a little bit and wanted to focus on my home life. And that is currently kind of the phase I'm in right now, is focusing on my home life and trying to just keep giving me and my kids a life that I'm not willing to give up. I'm not willing to go back out because I've given myself this life that I'm not willing to trade out for another fix. So,
Well, that's good. And then some of the challenges, like sober support network, is always important. Um, so, like within your network, do you find it's like more parents?
um, now it is. Um, a lot of times it was hard to realize that wherever I go, my kids go. Um, and kids don't need to be going everywhere. Sometimes you gotta not attend something just because you have your kids with, and that's okay. And I thought it was a challenge for me because I wanted to be included, and I had few instances where I felt I wasn't being included because I was a parent, you know, and that's okay. you know, or there's times where I've been invited to something and I couldn't go because I couldn't find childcare or a babysitter. And, you know, I have my grandparents that are willing to help out with babysitting, but I really utilize them for work, you know, so having friends that don't have kids is okay and it's great, you know, but there's also times where, you know, they don't want kids to be there. You know, not every friend dinner needs to have kids along with. So it's that was a challenge and sometimes a hard pill to swallow in some instances, but you know, that's okay. It's okay to not be included because you have kids. Like, you know, it sucks sometimes, but for the most part it's, you know,
Well, that's just you putting your family first.
exactly, you know, exactly. And you know, and it's also finding the groups that, you know, don't mind you having your kid with, you know, finding the groups that don't mind when your kid has an outburst, because, you know, people think that we control our children. As much as we try to control our children, they're their own human beings. They're not meant to be controlled, you know. And um you know, and that's also kind of like, you have to know your child, you know. You have to know, like Phoenix, my 10-year-old, I know that if I go somewhere where we have to be quiet, or, you know, I know he's okay with a tablet, or, you know, I know he's okay with screen time, whereas my 4-year-old, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know she would rather be a part of and talk to people and interact with people, and, you know, so it's also knowing the boundaries you have with your children and knowing who they are, that, you know, what they're doing isn't necessarily wrong, you know. And you also have to understand where you're at, because who knows, I might be overstimulated, you know. I might not have the energy for some things, you know. My patience might be running a little thinner than usual, you know. So it's it's you just have to be comfortable with knowing who you are and who your kids are, and being prepared for, you know, the shoe to drop.
Yeah. Well, you know, and my hat's really off to parents, especially single parents, because that's a lot of work, a lot of patience. Yeah, and kids are going to be kids. I mean, that's their job.
Yeah. And also, Phoenix seen me when I was still out there using and stuff, and he seen me as an addict, and learning to not parent out of that guilt or that shame that you feel, and not trying to make up for these things. Like, the kids don't need that. The kids really just need you to be present and to be there. And it's okay to show your kids that you have a meltdown. You know, it's okay to break down in front of your children. It's okay to cry in front of your children. It's okay to show them that adults have big feelings too. You know.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
some cool stuff right there.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
Um, just keep trying, man. Just, your kids need you. You know, you might feel like people are better off without you in their lives, and that's not the case. And also, like, for people that are trying to get their kids back, you know, sometimes you have to jump through all their hoops, and it's going to be challenging, and you're going to want to give up. And it's just like, don't give up. Don't give up. Your kids need you to be in recovery and healthy and happy, and they just want their parents, you know. So yeah.
So, cool beans. So I guess anything else? Should we wrap it up?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks for watching. If you like what we said, or what Harriet said especially, I didn't say that much, but
Sorry.
you know, give it a like and a share.
Yeah.
Until next time, Gigawatt.
You go up, man.